Okay, well, we will call to order the meeting for the Shenandoah City Council, Wednesday, September 23rd, 2020. It is no longer 7 p.m. Director Beavers stole some of my time, so it is now 7:15. I have to give him a hard time for that. That's right. Call the roll. Notice that everybody is here tonight. We're going to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, and then if you would like to stay standing with us, I'll say a quick invocation for us. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor
the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Dear Lord, we come before you tonight, and we just ask for your guidance and your wisdom tonight as we make our way through this agenda. We appreciate everybody that's showing up tonight, all the residents, the city staff, the strategic partners, guests, and obviously council members that have chosen to serve and give their time to try to do the best job we can to help continue to shape the future of this city and make it great for all the people that live here and work here, play and pray here. So we pray all these things in your son's names, and all God's people said, Amen. Okay, well, once again, good evening, everybody. Sorry we got a late start. The MDD meeting ran over just a little bit, but when discussions are good, you hate for them to temper that. It's always good to have meaningful discussions, even if we don't always agree with everything everybody has to say. It's good to have meaningful discussion. That way we make sure we figure out the right answer, right? So I'm glad that they took their time. So we've got a couple of folks that signed up to speak in item 5, which is Citizens Forum. We are going to start off with Miss Julia Hepburn. And so citizens are invited to speak on either agenda or non-agenda items. You're limited to 3 minutes, and just keep in mind that council cannot deliberate with you, but we do appreciate your comments. So just approach the podium. Ms. Hepburn, if you wouldn't mind approaching the podium.
Hi, I'm Julia Hepburn. I live at 28903 Enchanted Drive. My issue tonight is I had made a record request to get the last evaluation out of our city administrator, Kathy, and I was, I got my record request and they told me that they had no record of any of her last evaluation. I emailed you and Kathy. I heard back from you, but not her. And you said, you were sorry you don't do record requests. I get that, but my whole thing was I have yet to get her last evaluation. And I know in executive session on June the 10th of 2020 in the executive session went over the city administrator's eval. I know the city has paid multiple bills to an HR company for employees' evaluations, and the city policy, according on page 160, says that every employee will have an annual evaluation. So I'm not really sure why I can't get it. I mean, I just kind of look at, was one done? Is there something going on? I mean, I know a lot of y'all have businesses, and I'm sure you evaluate your employees annually. How else would you know to give them a raise? How else would you know they were doing a good job? So I just find it a bit fishy. And I also know that when things are put on social media, there are a lot of family members of city council will say, hey, do y'all go to city council? You need to bring your concerns up here. Well, there are just a few of us that will come up here and actually stand in front of y'all. So, I mean, it is a bit intimidating, but not for me. So, anyway, thank y'all.
Thank you, Ms. Hepburn. Okay, next up is Jeremy Witt. Am I pronouncing that correct? Jeremy Witt? Yeah, there you go.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Jeremy Witt. I live at 16722 East Wimble Circle off 242 across the street from HEB. I'm not a member of the Shenandoah community, although I felt like I've been one for about 10 years. I've been very involved with the community around in this area. From back when I moved out here, I started coaching at College Park, and then I began to coach of the Shenandoah Shark swim team. Here this past year, I have changed teaching positions. I'm a high school teacher, and I came from Humboldt up to Willis High School, and they asked me to coach their swim and dive team this year. It's a relatively small team of about 20 to 24 swimmers, give or take, a day here or there. But due to the recent situations or circumstances with the pandemic and everything, the places in the past that the Willis High School swim team has practiced have become unavailable to us. And on your agenda tonight, you guys are going to put into motion to let the Willis High School swim team. We're requesting the use of the Shenandoah pool 3 days a week, a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 6 to 7:30 in the morning. And we'd be gratefully humbled if you guys would let us use our pool. I know that I hate to kind of ask the community for this, since they have given me so much from the families and the board members in the city have been very generous to me over the past 10 years. And I've been very proud to serve as head coach of the Shenandoah Sharks and have the families and the kids put their trust in me to help them become better individuals and better swimmers in the water. And I'm really just kind of looking forward to do that with the Willis High School swim team, to help them become more developed individuals and a competitive swim team here over this high school swim season. Hopefully things can get back to more of a quotation marks normal here before too long. But anyway, that's the gist of what I have to say. I just wanted to put it before you guys and say we would appreciate it if you guys could let us have the use of the Shenandoah City Pool 3 mornings out of the week. Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate you coming
Good
tonight.
to see us.
Okay, well, I didn't have anybody else sign up, but obviously you all know by now there is a second citizens forum at the end of the meeting, so you are welcome to sign up to speak if you missed the first one. Okay, so with that, we will move to item 6, which is council inquiry. Do I have anybody that wanted to speak right now? Nope, okay. Then we will move to item 7, which is a presentation by the Gulf Coast Blood Center. And I believe I have a representative from the Gulf Coast Blood Center here tonight, the account manager, Shannon Reed. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Come on up, Ms. Reed. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm going to take my mask off. Good evening. It is a privilege to be here this evening. I want to thank all of you for your recent participation and your support of our mission. And I also wanted to give special consideration to Ms. Debbie Pilcher, our chairperson, who has been the backbone of our promotion of events. Gulf Coast Regional Blood Center is the #1 supplier of blood and blood components across 26 counties for 170 hospitals throughout Houston and South Texas. In light of the recent pandemic and including the recent depletion of blood supply, as of yesterday, we actually lost in excess of 850 units of blood from Tropical Storm Beta alone due to our mobile operations complex being completely underwater. So I just want to implore all of you to continue to keep us in your thoughts, to continue to participate. I have some statistics I wanted to share with you and just absolutely applaud your efforts and your participation. I also wanted to share with you, I am personally a blood recipient, as is my 1-year-old son. Yes, I had a child very late in life. I wouldn't want to recommend it, but yes, he is a blessing. And I wanted to share with you the fact that in light of just with the 2 blood drives that we have done as a team, both with myself and with Ms. Pilcher, we have collected in excess of 74 units, and that equates to saving and sustaining 256 lives. That blood and blood components are actually escalated to Texas Children's Hospital, Memorial Hermann Hospital, and HCA Healthcare. Many of our hospitals right now are actually unable to actually participate in these blood drives. So I just want to continue to encourage you to please participate. The blood that you are collecting is saving lives. In addition to that, we are continuing to do antibody testing. With the antibody testing, we are actually able to detect antibodies for carriers of COVID-19 antibodies, which would apply to convalescent plasma donors. This is a very, very groundbreaking mission in terms of our public health consensus. And in fact, Houston is the leader in terms of developing this application of convalescent plasma to the vaccine development. So I want to tell all of you, thank you from the bottom of my heart, both personally and professionally. What you are doing literally saves lives every single day across the region, across South Texas, and in the state of Louisiana, and we are infinitely grateful to everything we're doing. We have another blood drive coming out November 4th. Please sign up to donate. Please encourage your friends, your family. It is absolutely 100% free of charge to donate. You get your free COVID-19 antibody testing, and we would love the opportunity. It would be an honor and a privilege to continue working with you through the balance of 2021. You're able to donate every 56 days. And again, I am a personal recipient of blood. It saved my life. I'm standing here today because of all of you who gave a life-saving gift of blood. So please donate, and we're very thankful to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Reed. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And by the way, I have a 2-year-old, so I'm right there with you.
No sleep, right? It's just naps
That's
all
right.
the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, that would move us to item 8, but unfortunately, we're going to have to postpone the presentation of the award to Officer Ledesma based on some family circumstances. But I found, can I share the good news? Can I share the other news that I learned? Or should I?
Well, we were going to bring that up.
Oh, you're going to bring that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, guess what? Okay, so come back to the next meeting. You'll get to hear about the award and some more good news.
All right.
But wait, there's more.
Steak knives?
Yes, we got a set of steak knives. Okay, so that moves us to, my third favorite thing, the presentation of the MDD monthly report.
Just like your project list.
It's all right. You can change it. It's a living die. All right. MDD just approved their budget for the next year, so that's a good thing. 23 days late beyond the bylaws, but nevertheless. Not too much has changed on the project plan. We're wrapping up the calendar year, the budget year. Just got a couple projects that are still left in progress, and they'll be closing out, probably by mid-October. Really, I didn't have any additional updates of any significance.
Thank you, Ron, appreciate that.
Except for-
Anybody have any questions for Councilman?
Except for I'm looking forward to building out the next one.
Yeah, there you go. Anybody have any questions for Councilman Raymaker as it relates to the MDD report?
It's good, thanks for all the work on it.
You're welcome.
Okay, that will move us then to item 10, which is a public hearing to consider impact fee committee recommendations regarding the proposed capital improvement plan and future land use projects. We will open the public hearing at 7:28. Would anybody like to speak during the public hearing? Okay, we will close the public hearing then at 7:29. That'll move us to item 11, which is discussion and possible action to adopt the capital improvements plan and future land use projects.
City Council, there are 2 items that you will consider tonight. Number 1 is the capital improvements plan. It has nothing to do with dollars. It simply is, even though you may see in your pack dollars associated, it is simply what the impact fee committee has approved and submits to you for approval for the capital projects that will be part of an impact fee if one is passed. And the second item is future land use. The same thing, the impact fee committee makes a recommendation or suggestion to city council about what it believes future land use in the city would look like. You'll see on the map that's up on the board, we've got 11.27 acres in the city that is undeveloped. And the committee, and you can see listed on the right what the impact fee committee believed future land use might look like. I would like to point out one item on the list, and that is the ones 8 and 2 along Wellman Road. I'm going to point to those. Those two items, the impact fee committee thought future land use would look like low or medium density residential development. The Planning and Zoning Commission is currently considering a comprehensive plan. They have decided that they believe the comprehensive plan, that would be single-family residential. Those two, comprehensive plan is separate from impact fee committee, but I wanted you to be aware, planning and zoning and the comprehensive plan will come back to city council with a recommendation that those two be single-family residents. So what you have tonight is 2 votes, one to approve the capital projects or to not approve or to modify those, and then number 2 is to approve the recommendations of the impact fee committee on future land use or to modify those, or of course you can reject them. So that's where we are.
So Bill, just for clarification, our zoning is not defined as medium density or high density. We have residential, multifamily residential, like R1. We don't have medium so what does medium density, what's the actual definition?
Medium density would be townhouses, duplexes. Right now, the current comprehensive plan has those as medium density.
Has what? Has what as?
Items 8 and 2.
Our comprehensive plan has those?
Yes. And what I'm informing you is the planning and zoning is going to recommend that those be changed to single-family
residential. Okay.
Those are separate items. What the impact fee committee is guessing to be future land use is certainly different than zoning. But I wanted you to be aware of that difference.
Can the motion include both in the same motion?
You can, yes.
Well, when you say both, what do you mean?
Number 1 was the capital improvement plan, and the other the land use projection.
No, I'm going to split these up, actually,
All right.
if you don't mind.
Fine.
So let's first, since we have the map up, let's talk about future land use first. So do I have a motion on the future land use?
Motion to approve the future land use as proposed by the impact committee.
So we have a motion by Councilman Raymaker
At least
to
so we can
approve,
discuss.
to approve the future land use.
Yeah, I'll second that.
And we have a second by Councilman McLeod so that we can discuss. And I'm glad, thank you for at least making motions so we could discuss, because I'm not in favor of this. I think we have a couple of problems here. Number one, I think the fact that it's on that map, that sets us up for a problem down the road. We're stating that we were okay with it being medium density residential, and then we're going to circle back later on and say, no, we meant for that to be single-family residential. And we obviously know that there are developers that are wanting to put multifamily residential on that property, and we have residents that are adamantly opposed to it. So I think that having something that we agree to that sets us up for that is a problem. And then we have the same issue going on over on number 3, which is set for high-density residential. And once again, We have residents that are adamantly opposed to that, and that's in a commercial corridor anyway, which would actually, could potentially be a good, it's right on Research Forest, that could be a good area for future retail, so.
Which number did you say, Rich?
Number three, we're the high-density residential on the western side of our ETJ. I'm not,
That was in the handout.
Founder's Reserve, right?
Oh, there it
It's
is.
No.
next to Founder's
three.
Reserve.
Oh, a different three, never mind, we got 2 3s for some reason. I don't know why I got 2 3s.
Could somebody point to the
It's-
correct
Yeah.
three that we're
The-
talking
the-
about?
The yellow one on the west side, southwest corner of the ETJ, basically.
Oh, way out there,
Yeah.
okay. I didn't even look out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because ETJ development versus city
Yes,
limits
it
development.
within the
That's-
Right.
That's why, okay.
We have where Wood Forest is, multifamily residential, we have that set up as retail commercial, which, I mean, they're gonna have some retail there, so I guess that's not terrible to have it. Seems like we get some better definition of what they're gonna,
What number you at?
well, so I was just looking at where Woodloft is gonna be. That's set up as retail right now, where in reality, that's gonna be mixed use. That's gonna be residential and retail, so
Well, is that still,
I don't even know if that's still,
it has, their SUP hasn't expired
Hasn't
yet,
expired.
so. I don't believe, has it, Kathy?
Correct.
Woodlofts has expired.
It has
Okay.
expired?
Well, they've come back to us with a PDD request.
Right.
So we're in the middle of that process
Okay.
now.
but it's something to think, so if their SUP is expired, then.
The original, correct.
I mean, that's something to think about is we have quite a bit of, you know, I don't know at what level you go to high density, but we've got quite a few apartments already.
Right.
Do we need another set at, you know, that, in that 16? Yeah, but you're right now it's marked as retail.
Just keep in mind, based on what we have currently on the ground and incoming, we've got more hotel room front doors than we do residential front doors, and we also have more multifamily residential front doors than we do single-family residential front doors. So, I mean, at some point, we're getting to an imbalance. We may already be there, but.
So my other thought is that 9 and 11 circle with the redevelopment, how are we defining that?
That is, all the impact fee committee said, and that's all that they need to say, is that we believe that area will be subject to redevelopment, and they've turned that over to planning and zoning for IDC and comprehensive plan revisions.
What is 13? 13's the Valero station, isn't it?
No.
No.
That's not Research Force and Six Pines, that's not the Valero?
It's on the other side of the hotel, right? The hotel's on the corner, outside of us.
no, he's right.
That is near the hotel.
That is where
Yeah,
that
that's
Valero is.
the Valero, and we've got it set up as an
Yeah,
office
that's-
corridor.
Yeah.
That is off one. It should be over to, yes.
Put to that other opposite corner.
Yeah, that little square
So-
right
So,
underneath
which is
12.
where Culver's is,
Culver's
which is
is-
where we have,
Killing.
Killen's Barbecue looking to come in. So we're gonna take retail off of that and make it office corridor.
Over on the west side.
Two
that
over on the
small-
west
Right on
side
boundary.
is,
That little bitty square,
Oh, the furthest
On the
square.
other side of Valero.
other side of
yeah, on the
Valero.
other side of Tom Fazula's.
Right.
Is that
Yeah.
not Fazula's property? Is it vacant?
I don't know who owns that.
But it's vacant, it
is
doesn't have.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, I don't know, there again, we have that property, which is right next door to it, is zoned retail, and we're in a pilot agreement. And so then we're gonna come right back next door to it and say, never mind, we're making this office
Right.
corridor, and, I mean, it just
I
doesn't
don't know what the
seem.
thought was on that. Why isn't just
Is there-
hotel, why are we making 13?
Hey, Bill, is there a way just to, without them coming up with specific land uses, just identify the areas that would be subject to?
These are the areas that are within the city that are subject to impact fee, and
So,
and within the ETJ.
so would it be necessary to identify them based on type of property?
It does not have to be based on type of property. The
I mean, that could be
the
determined
impact
later.
fee committee is guessing future land use to see, are we going to have developers that would be subject to an impact fee? The better example would be if the impact fee committee said, just take item 14, which is research forest and I-45. If they said, we believe that's going to be a park, then they would say, we're not going to get an impact fee from that. So you are correct, Councilman Fletcher. There's not magic in what's going to be here. And in fact, you could easily modify the impact fee committee report to say that we believe these areas will be developed and subject to an impact fee without specifically
I would be-
categorizing what that would be.
I'd be much more comfortable with that, especially since we're looking at, redefining all that at this
Agreed.
point.
Yeah.
That
Agreed.
there's no reason to pigeonhole ourselves at this point,
No,
when we still have other committees that
You're
are
right.
Yeah.
meeting to,
we create a problem for ourselves.
That's right.
By noting,
And I, not only do I agree, as I've said to you, planning and zoning has already said
right.
no
right.
to one of these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're just starting on the comprehensive plan.
So all we need to do on the impact is say, these are the areas that might be subject to it,
And that would be fine.
without any
Leave that
designation.
Without any designation of what they are.
So we can modify the motion then to
Pull all the
Correct.
identify the
Yes.
impact, where the impact fee areas would be without having to designate it as a specific use.
You're correct.
So, Councilman Raymaker, would you like to modify your motion?
If I got it straight. Motion to approve the land use without the specific designations.
Correct.
I'll second that.
So we have a modified motion by Councilman Raymaker with a second by Councilman McLeod. Do we have any more discussion?
Just
Are
wanted
we,
to make it-
Mr.
just
Mayor,
wanted
are we splitting these up?
We're splitting this up. This is
Yeah.
just
All
for
right.
future land use. Yeah.
Which is number 2, right?
Yes.
Well, it's just because the map is up, yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries to approve the modified future land use map, 5-0. So now we'll go to capital improvements plan. If you could put that up, please, Chris. There we go.
No, it's the list.
Okay, sorry. That one there, right?
Correct.
Again, for the sake of discussion, motion to approve the capital improvement plan.
Second.
So I have a motion by Councilman Raymaker to approve. I have a second by Councilman Dristy. Discussion?
So why are we looking at an RO plant for water
I
plant
was,
five?
I saw $12 million.
And these numbers are not,
This is the old exhibit. There's not going to be an RO plant. There's
Okay.
not going to be a Catahoula well. We took that out, so it's about half that cost. Good catch.
but it's the items.
It's about the item.
I'm not sure I understand what that means then. What do you mean it's about the items?
In other words, it's not the dollars that you're approving at all, and that comes in the next meeting. It's simply the list of improvements.
So we need to put some upgrades on our current water plants. We need to think about bringing in another water plant. We've got a couple water loops we need to drop in,
Is there like a time frame?
wastewater treatment upgrades.
Is there a time frame that this covers?
Yes, it's a 10-year look into the future.
Oh
And,
my God, 10 years.
I'm sorry, that's what the
Just-
statute requires.
I know. I'm just saying, just from the earlier meeting, somebody didn't like that.
No comment.
Okay.
So, so you're approving the items, as I said, there's not going to be Catahoula well or any reverse osmosis treatment, so we took that out. But, the way this works, we developed a cost for water and sewer improvements over a 10-year period, and then 50% of that is used to calculate the impact fee, which you'll see next council meeting.
So you're saying W.2 is not included?
Well, yes, so you will have a future water plant,
We're
but
gonna
it
need a
won't
future
be
water
a
plant.
it'll be a Jasper well, not a Catahoula well.
So we don't need RO, we don't need to pull all the salt and stuff, that brine out of it, right?
Right.
We're just gonna get the water.
I was trying to determine
cheaper
what
plan.
was what in, okay. This
We
is
have-
this is the latest list, right?
The dollar amounts are different, but the list, we need a new plant. We need a plan for a new plant. But it's not gonna be an RO
Yeah.
plant.
These are the improvements that will be necessary for all of that development will be coming.
Right.
So talk to me about if you got your answer? I don't want to
think
cut you
so.
off.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, yeah.
Talk to me about the goof and track water line and the goof and track lift station and forced main extension. Why are we planning for a goofing project?
Can somebody
It's
show
not
me
a-
where the Goofin track is?
It's where that track is. Eventually, one day, we're going to have to run water and sewer when that develops, whatever it is, office building, gym, it doesn't.
Where
I
exactly
guess
is
I'm
it?
uncomfortable with the timing of it then, because we're talking about in 2023, we're talking about basically 2 years off. I don't think we need it 2 years from now. To me, that seems awfully early.
Well, we've had developers look at that tract, and, the planned years really are not significant for this overall 10-year projection, but at the time, when we did the list, that tract was being looked at by a developer, so, it's likely that it could happen within the next 3 years, but we don't know.
Yeah. I'd be more comfortable if we pushed that off a little ways, and I'd also be more comfortable if we called it something other than the goof and track. I mean, that's a single developer that we basically are pigeonholing ourselves into, the fact that we like their project. I mean, again, I just look at this, if I was a developer and I'm looking for ammunition as to why I'm not getting my project approved, this is something I would come to the table with, same as the last deal with the map. I'm going to come to the table with it and say, well, I don't understand, because y'all already had it planned for right here. So to me, I would name that something different.
We
and I would-
can change the name,
Yeah,
and we'll
and I'd
get you an
probably push it
updated
off a little
list
further.
and change the dates.
And you can
But-
make it 2027,
Yeah.
and it still has to be on the
I don't-
list, it still has to be part of the
And I'm-
impact.
yeah, that's fine.
I'm not sure years
Yeah.
planned really matters at this point.
What's that?
I don't think years planned from now really matters, because it's really gonna be based on when somebody has a project.
When
in
somebody
their
has a
area,
project,
right?
yeah.
And they bring it to us, so I don't see.
Because
what
we
makes
have a
it-
developer right now named Goofin that wants to put a project there.
Yeah, well, when you
that we
take
don't
his
really
name
want
off
it.
of this and just.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I
Correct.
would be uncomfortable with putting that project in black and white writing. To me, that kind of like what Councilman Griffey said earlier, we're sort of setting ourselves up for a problem later.
And I
I
still
think we
don't
should name
know,
it by the track name, not the developer's name.
I still don't know where the Goofin track is. So could somebody show me on
It's
the
number
map where it
3.
is?
It's the same place that we were talking about earlier with the high-density multifamily residential.
Number 3?
Number
Yeah,
3.
number three.
Okay, gotcha, all right.
Yeah.
I'll just add really
Thank you.
quick, now that we have all these numbers, I've already added that to the CIP, and Mayor, I've titled it the West ETJ
Yeah, there you go.
Waterline
Yeah,
Extension.
way better. Yeah, way better.
So
Thank
I've
you.
already done that.
So,
I'd like to
Just for
say, let's
clarity.
be consistent when we do that, you know what I mean there.
well, yeah, and I think that was kind of where I was headed, Charlie, was I think I would feel a lot more comfortable if I had this list that was kind of purified, where it didn't have things in it that we need to change. I mean, I don't know that I want to vote on something that we're going to get a change on, but, I mean, I understand the necessity as it stands, but it's not a very good document to vote on.
If it doesn't need to say 12 million, let's not put
Yeah,
12 million.
yeah, that's kind of my
We
position.
can make
Yeah.
the names generic, and we'll coordinate with staff to make sure, we're synced up. So we can bring that back to you.
So,
Personally, that's what I prefer. I mean,
so Bill, again, back to what we talked about, does it really matter, names, titles on the document? I mean, at the end of the day, if we push it off a month, then, it also pushes every developer, it gives them another 30-day window to be able to get a project in that we don't have.
That would not be subject to the impact fee.
That's
Right.
correct.
Yeah.
Well, then you can make a motion.
The object of this is impact fees.
You could make a motion with those amendments,
Right.
Correct, well, that's what I'm
Be-
saying,
Yeah,
can we go back to,
I think that would make the most sense.
So
I mean,
it,
So W-2 for not 12 million.
W-2 for 6 million would be the first, yeah. Somebody making a list here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Courtney, you getting all this?
The
Actually,
numbers,
Joseph's gonna make all the changes.
let me suggest that the motion be to approve the list of capital improvements
But not the cost.
without cost and years, and with redefining
Nomenclature to each.
nomenclature by address rather than project, which we can do.
because these numbers aren't cast in stone.
Yeah.
It's Councilman
They-
Raymaker's motion,
they-
so
they
I'm
can
comfortable with that.
All right, you ready to reel this off?
Oh, man.
You can just say what he said, I'm fine.
Yeah, what Bill said is, yeah.
I can't just say so moved for Bill, so. To approve the projects named here with the exceptions that W2, it would be for 6 million. We're not counting this column anymore.
We're not
We're not,
counting.
to eliminate all cost.
Okay, all right. Motion to approve the list of projects named here with the modification of the goof and track to the west ETJ track.
Is that what you said? Is that what yours was, Joseph?
That's what I called it.
Okay.
It was more generic.
Please don't make me do that again.
West ETJ water line extension.
With no dollars or years,
With
right?
no dollars
For
or
years.
years. Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion,
Second.
we have a second. Any more discussion? I know it seems like a little thing, but if I were voting, I wouldn't want to put my name on that either.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
I
mean,
agree.
this is-
I totally understand, I totally get it.
This is a
so.
first look for most all
Yeah.
of us, so I mean.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries 5-0. That moves us to item 12, which is discussion and possible action to adopt the following resolution. Resolution setting public hearing to consider a possible impact fee pursuant to Chapter 395 of the Texas Local Government Code.
Move that we adopt the resolution.
I have a motion by Councilman Fletcher.
Second.
I have a second by Councilman Gristy. Do we have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to adopt carries 5-0. Move on to item 13, discussion regarding a proposed material change for the exterior of Mill Creek Residential. This is a discussion-only item, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Council, this is for your information. There are some representatives with us tonight from Mill Creek. This is the multifamily that is part of the Lifetime development, and they are changing their exterior materials from stone to brick. It is an approved material, so they don't have to ask for council approval. This is more to let you know that they're making that change. And if you have any questions for them, there is an exhibit in your agenda pack, and they are here to address any questions you may have.
I guess I was first curious of how it is that the stone casts more of a shadow than a brick. How's that work?
Hi, Mr. Mayor and council members, my name is Jeb Cox of Mill Creek. Thank you for your time tonight. You know, I don't know, it's just the way it turned out. So we built a mock-up, you can see a photo of it, and we always do this because sometimes things don't look the way they do in a rendering. So I think it's because it's the way the stone, it's fairly large. with the way the mortar, where you have the grout between the stones it meets, and it's just the way it turned out. So I'm sure if our architect was here, they could probably give you a more eloquent answer to that. So we felt like the brick was a better architectural decision. And so as she was saying, we're basically just, nothing's changing on the building except for the stone is going to brick. And you can see too, it's a fairly similar color.
How does this coordinate with the opposing building that, the Lifetime building, or I don't remember.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They were supposed to match up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they will still match. I don't know necessarily if they are going with the brick or not, but the color schemes, the palette, all that's supposed to be, I mean, that's the idea, is to make it look like a unified development. But I don't think they are going with the brick at this point, to my knowledge.
Okay. Any more questions?
Your first rendering, it says the last one was tan building masonry section. And you're changing it to cream white buff bricks. Is that how I'm reading this? Looking at this, okay?
Yeah.
Which was your original, the tan building masonry sections, is that the stone?
Yes, yeah, that's just the
All right,
name of it, basically.
So I like the lighter, the white in the rendering. I like this better.
Oh, good, well,
myself.
thank you.
The appearance.
Perfect. We can't wait for y'all to get started.
Looks like y'all are moving around.
We're well under construction.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought that was Lifetime that was done it. That's
No,
actually, okay.
they started, they've poured the footings for their building.
Okay.
But we're actually moving probably a little bit quicker than they are, so.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So,
Thanks for bringing this to us.
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah,
I'm
thanks.
excited to be, to open here in
That's right.
about 2 years, so.
Awesome, thank you.
Good deal.
Okay, well, let's move to item 14 then, which is discussion regarding estimated cost to extend the merge lane at the southbound service road at Research Forest. This is, again, a discussion only.
Council, this is provided for your information. This was also presented to MDD at the meeting before this one. Councilman Fletcher brought up this idea at the last meeting, and this would not only work in conjunction with the extended right turn lane at Research, but it would provide a dedicated merge lane on the southbound service road. So this provides some information on the estimated cost, along with an exhibit from Lyle Engineering. And if you have any questions about the project, like I said, this is for your information. Mr. Blyle's here to answer any questions you might have.
It's deja vu. That's a protected lane, right?
Right.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna go off topic a little bit with you, John, but the two 10-inch drop inlets that you're moving, if you expand that, you were gonna remove all of that concrete pipe?
Yes, there's.
Could we just remove the DI, put a section of pipe and use that pipe and only build the drop inlets? Because you've got one drop inlet that's way down that still utilizes that pipe, correct? About 490 feet of the 600?
That sounds right. We haven't done anything on this, but
I'm
this
just trying to save some
exhibit.
money, but
If we get into the design process, or when we do, hopefully, we'll look at all options to save money, of course.
I mean, I don't even know if it's feasibly possible.
It's possible, yes, sir.
Okay, I thought that would be good. And the length, even though there's two driveways on an unoccupied property right now, that probably will change the confusion on that lane. How about the hospital? We're far enough away from where it feeds in
As I
that shouldn't
mentioned,
be.
at MDD, yes, the TxDOT will have to approve this, their traffic division in their district office in Houston will have to approve the layout, and they take into consideration existing and future driveways. They have to be in compliance with their driveway
Okay.
spacing. And so all that would need to be looked at. So what we're asking for tonight is just your input, and if it appears to be positive and you want to consider moving forward, we would get a proposal to staff to start the preliminary engineering and get the surveying going. One of the larger costs, Councilman Brock mentioned, the storm sewer that's existing would all have to be removed. We would salvage what we could, but that'll have to be relocated to accommodate the future lane. The question came up at MDD about should you consider moving forward with the right turn lane and research if you decide to do this. My answer then was yes, we recommend proceeding. It's a different project. It's outside of TxDOT right-of-way. Have a verbal commitment for shared funding from Precinct 3. Both of these projects together, I think, would be a great enhancement to the mobility in that intersection. So this was a great idea by Councilman Fletcher, and the local office in Conroe is very supportive of the project.
Well, and I'll plan on at some point visiting with Commissioner Nowak about trying to help for some funding on this acceleration lane as well. But I know they're already through their budget. That's not going to be this year. It's going to be, at least a little ways off as well. So my thought process, same as yours, that let's do what we can now, because this may be the acceleration lane may be a couple years off, whereas we could at least add the storage,
Right.
fairly quickly.
We agree, and I think we're at least 18 months away.
At least.
Any other questions?
I think it'd be something that everybody would like to have on research for us.
I would think so.
Definitely got to move people through there.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Okay, that moves us to item 15, which is presentation of a final report regarding the proposed zoning amendment for a special use permit for a mixed beverage permit. The proposed zoning amendment is for Aloft Hotel. This is a presentation only.
Council, this is the Aloft Hotel located next to Oak Haven on the east side. They're requesting a mixed beverage permit for on-site. There are no late hours requested. So this is pretty routine.
Have they completed construction? I mean,
Pardon?
they're open?
They're preparing to open.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, item 16, public hearing regarding proposed zoning amendment for special use permit for a mixed beverage permit on premises. The proposed zoning amendment is for the Aloft Hotel. We will open the public hearing at 8:02. Would anybody like to speak during the public hearing? No? Okay, we will close the public hearing then at 8:03. That moves us to item 17, which is discussion and possible action to adopt the following ordinance. An ordinance for a special use permit for a mixed beverage on premises for the aforementioned Aloft Hotels at 19391 David Memorial Drive. Do I have a motion?
Motion we approve.
Second?
I have a motion by Councilman Christie, I have a second by Councilman Fletcher. Do we have any discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0 to allow for the mixed beverage permit. That moves us to item 18, which is discussion and possible action to adopt the following ordinance. An ordinance for the City of Shenandoah, Texas, amending Chapter 6 of the Code of Ordinances, said city by amending Section 6.2 and adding Section 6.11, providing for penalty and providing for the servability of the provisions of the ordinance, providing for the repeal of any and all ordinances, resolutions, and/or informal policies to the extent the same are inconsistent with or in conflict with this ordinance, and providing an effective date.
Move to approve?
I have a motion to approve by Councilman Fletcher.
Second.
I have a second by Councilman McLeod. Do we have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 19 discussion and possible action to amend the MDD bylaws.
I move that we table this and send this to MDD first. We have a tendency to always send things back to the organization or the entity that it's going to affect, from planning and zoning to the Civic Club, but for whatever reason, we never sent this to the MDD. And so I would move that that we would table this until MDD was able to review it, since in their bylaws, it actually states that MDD can set forth its own bylaws and then request approval.
So I have a motion by Councilman Fletcher to table. What all that, I think, boils down to. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second by Councilman Brought. Sounds like we're going to have some discussion? No, that wasn't.
No,
that
we'll
was
have
before?
some,
Oh,
we'll have
okay.
some discussion.
We're here.
Thought that's what that was.
We're here. When I was looking through it, then I was thinking that the time frame for MDD to pass the budget to us would be June 30th, seeing how they meet monthly, that if they were to pass the budget to us on the 27th, they may wish to modify. So by requiring it by June 30th, they could then modify in their July meeting, and that would still be somewhat early enough for us to take a look at it. But if they only come to that agreement at the end of July without having at least some kind of rough draft of what they will or won't approve, that that's too short of a ramp-up time for us to go to budget workshop.
Yeah.
So you were thinking of having them actually earlier than what we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, end of June. All CAP projects will be well published and put in our ranking system before that. So what CAP projects are going to be available will be known probably for at least 3 or 4 months in advance.
Chris, could you scroll back up to the timetable? Yeah, so this is July MDD budget approval. You're saying you would want it to be June
Yes.
MDD budget approval. Well, so then I was just about to say that we have 2 MDD members here. It's not like y'all didn't know this was coming. They talked about it in the MDD meeting, so obviously Director Beavers brought it up. I mean, sending it back to MDD now, they know about it. I get the appearance, or, yes, in retrospect, we probably should have first. If we were going to approve as is, I don't know that it matters to send it back there now. I think that's sort of, we're just patronizing them at that point. However, if we're going to change it, that's a different story. So then maybe if for instance, Councilman Raymaker, you wanted to propose some sort of change to this, then I would say it probably should go back to MDD to, get their viewpoint on it, and then come back to council, for council to, just out of clarification, Bill's already made the statement that the MDD bylaws are amended or approved by council, not by MDD. So this is council's decision. However, it would probably be the right thing to do to get their opinion, especially since we're asking MDD to significantly modify when they have to have their budget done by. So
Yeah, because
that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I don't want another year like this one where the MDD budget is 23 days off target and we're still, not happy with it, at least on the MDD side. So let's get
Well, I think
that-
there's a
let's
lot
get-
of circumstances
let's get
that change that
Let's
too,
get that
Ron,
out of
so,
the
I
way
mean,
before we get to budget workshop.
And I would say it also depends on, when the joint workshop is. I mean, our joint workshop this year wasn't until June, if I'm not mistaken. And so there's a lot of things that push those dates off.
Well, hopefully we won't have a pandemic every year that we're dealing with.
I would.
But in a normal sense, is it reasonable to expect them the MDD board to be able to come to decisions like that in June?
Do we need it by June? I mean, we don't have
I'm
budget
saying-
workshop until August,
I'm just saying
so.
that because they've got another, because if they're approving it and we're seeing it their approved budget for the first time, the last week of July generally, then that's kind of late to get it to us.
But we're still gonna, but we're
Well, you
going
still
into
have an
budget
idea.
workshop
Yeah.
knowing,
And-
yeah.
And you still have an idea at that point, like you said, you're the one puts together the MDD capital projects and report, that if we're blindsided at that point, then I would
Shame
be
on us.
very
Yeah,
concerned.
Well,
But I don't think we would be blindsided either way.
Okay, if it's gonna stay July, then it has to be approved, done, no more beyond
Well-
the last meeting of July.
No, I really just want firm commitments. I mean, it's that kind of thing. It's like, I mean, MDD has sort of a defined goals, and you, and I think Fletcher would agree that we're gonna, I think we've talked about this, about sending sort of the big, 5 or 6 big projects instead of all the little tiny ones. So I'm hoping that the budget, for MDD budget, wouldn't quite be quite the long drawn out situation.
I mean, I can live with this if that's gonna be the case, then but they need to be done. The final budget has to be approved.
Well, remember, budgets are just guidelines too, and you can come back
Right.
and,
But we need to know for workshop.
I agree. That's my only position, and
budgets
we
can
should
be-
know by workshop.
As we discussed earlier, Ron, budgets can be modified.
Exactly.
Then
So
I'm
it's not an
okay.
absolute, it's just a guidance as this is what we're trying to do.
Bill, could we say that July, that the MDD budget should be submitted to council?
Yeah, I think that's what
That's what it says, July.
That's-
The final budget,
That's,
yeah.
that's what's in the,
By August 1st.
by August 1st.
And that, yeah, I think that
think that's
provides
fine
us with
then.
what we're looking for,
Yeah,
going into
okay.
workshop. We don't have to guess anymore, well, if he's gonna,
You're right.
Well, and MDD can come back and go, we've got, by approving this budget, we'll have a $300,000 surplus. We could go to budget workshop and go, oh, there's this project, can we go back and ask MD to add that? Well, they can do that, but we know the big things have been taken care of, for sure. I mean, it doesn't mean at budget workshop, we can't go back to MDD and say, hey, can you fund this little thing, because you told us you had this surplus? Or maybe MDD comes back to us and says, we got 2 projects,
You've hit
we're
on
gonna
it.
fund one of them, tell us which one you.
You've hit along the vein of the pipeline of projects is from council.
Right.
MDD does not have and create their own pipeline of projects.
No, but they can reach
council
down there, they can go.
Actually, they do.
Actually, yeah.
It's a separate board. Actually, they do
That-
create their own
They
projects.
could reach way down and say, hey, this thing, the
They
council
they
rated
can
low.
choose to fund whatever they
something we
decide to
want.
fund.
It's something we want,
Without
yeah.
council's approval.
well, funding, yes, but they can't have they can't create their own project. They
Can't
can
create
choose
their
whether
own
or not to fund a project. Am I not correct on that? The MDD can't decide to build a road that we say they can't
Yes.
build.
Well,
No, normally MDD cannot, because they couldn't build a road on city property.
Right.
They can't build a park on city property, so.
Yeah, so
The
Therefore,
matter of
therefore they're
reality.
reliant on the pipeline of projects that city council puts up.
But they could still pick that guy at the bottom that's a sidewalk that 3 of them want, and all of us are kind of like, yeah, it'd be nice to have, but an MDD go, no, we want to spend $100,000 because we want a sidewalk between those 2 streets.
as long as council's okay with putting the sidewalk there.
Right, well, I mean, it's on the list, it's just at the bottom.
Yeah.
And MDD's perfectly happy to grab that and pay for that.
I mean, that's not, historically, that's not what's happened. They've taken the projects that
Sure.
council has put
Well-
forward to them.
Council approves projects, MDD approves funding as requested by council.
Right.
But ultimately, it's MDD's money, they're a separate board, they make that
I'd like to
call.
make another motion to approve the calendar for the MDD budget as presented.
Okay.
I think you've got a
I
pending
think we have a
motion.
pending
Okay.
motion now.
You've got a pending motion to
Oh, yeah,
table.
we actually have a motion to table. So we have a motion to table by Councilman Fletcher, I had a second by, Councilman Broad.
Councilman Broad.
yeah, okay. So then, all in favor of the motion to table?
Aye.
I'll say aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so the motion to table fails 2-3. So do we have any other motions?
Motion to approve the MDD budget calendar as presented.
So I have a motion by Councilman Raymaker to approve as presented. Do we have any seconds?
Second.
I have a second by Councilman Broad.
There we go.
Let me clarify, you said
I said
calendar.
Now, well,
We're
the
playing games
dates
here.
is
He's talking
laid
about
out
the
here.
dates.
The dates is laid out here. It's like, it's saying July MDD budget approval, June budgets delivered to council and MDD, joint workshop in May, and April regular council meeting go over cap
I
projects.
guess all I was
So,
worried about was
yeah,
the bylaws and let MDD and staff sort out when they want to do that.
So I guess the good question is, I don't believe these dates are in the bylaws.
No. The
Well,
bylaws
those
just said
dates
you gotta be
don't-
done with your budget by August 1st, and that's what I care about.
Yeah.
All right, so in the document, there's where the proposed date is. Can you scroll down to that, Chris?
Scroll down to the ordinance.
Which one are you looking at?
Where are the blue strikeouts?
You went there.
All right, okay, so,
So this
The
is
only
what you meant
thing,
by calendar.
yeah,
Yes.
the only thing on the agenda tonight is
The
possible
bylaws.
action to amend the MDD bylaws. So we're stuck in terms of, we can't go back and say, well, let's set up a schedule tonight. The only thing on the agenda is whether or not to amend the bylaws.
I got what he was saying. He's meaning this as the,
yes, yeah.
when he says calendar, he's meaning, yeah. Can you, let's clarify that.
Yeah, let's clarify
Yes.
that. So, all right, this is saying that the fiscal year begins on October 1st. That stays the same.
The MDD board will deliver its approved budget to the Shenandoah City Council before August 1st of each year. That
Yes,
says everything
that's
you
it.
needed
Yep,
to say.
Yep, that's it.
Okay, so,
You amend your,
can you, what is your motion?
Motion to approve the change to the MDD bylaws
Perfect,
as stated here.
perfect. So we have a motion by Councilman Raymaker to approve the changes to the MDD bylaws. Do we have a second?
Second.
I still have a second by Councilman Broad. Do we have any discussion? Again, the only point I'll make is that, for the record, we should have sent this to MDD first. I apologize to the board for not sending it first. Director Beavers brought that up, and so noted. It was our mistake.
And to clarify, as a courtesy, yes, but first, this was a response to a specific council request at the last meeting. So in order to let MDD know what council wants to adopt in the bylaws, we have to first run it through council. That was our approach.
Then this should have been for discussion only.
It should have been for discussion, and we should have probably sent it to them, but they all know about it now, so it's.
and it's not gonna
a
affect
big deal.
anybody till
Yeah,
next year.
Yeah.
Well, it
It's-
streamlines the process
Streamlines
when we
the
go
process.
to.
It does.
Yeah.
And that's the whole,
Yeah.
point of the
It
exercise.
does.
That's the point. yeah.
I think it's just more of a courtesy that.
It's just more of a
if-
courtesy.
No,
If we send bylaws back to the Civic Club, for crying out loud, it's a courtesy for
Right.
others that provide service for the
Well, we
city.
got the cart before the horse a little bit, but.
It was within good intention. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to amend the MDD bylaws passes 5-0. Item 20, discussion and possible action regarding approval of appointment of a secretary of the Civic Club.
Mr. Mayor, I'll abstain from this, and fellow council members.
Motion to approve?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Raymaker. I have a second by Councilman Fletcher. Do we have any discussion? Did we send this to Civic Club by any chance?
Actually, Civic
Came from
Club,
Civic
Civic
Club.
Club sent it to us.
It's their recommendation.
Okay, thank you. I'm just, gotta ask. Okay, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0 with one abstention by Councilman Brott. Item 21, discussion and possible action regarding an agreement with the Willis Independent School District.
Mayor and council, as you'll find in your packet, you'll see the draft contract for your review. And also you heard from Mr. Witt earlier during the citizen forum. So Willis ISD approached staff wanting to use our pool off of Wellman Road. This contract was shaped after the contract we have with the Sharks. So it's going to have a very familiar feel to it. The city attorney reviewed this before it was presented to council. Just a few bits of information that this schedule, the schedule that they have presented, which is also attached as an exhibit of the contract, it doesn't conflict with any of the city's schedule or the Shenandoah Sharks. The morning hours are not used that often for pool rentals, especially during the winter by residents. Also verified with our pool operator that lifeguards would be available during these hours.
What was the last thing you said? What would be available?
Lifeguards would be available.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion by Councilman Brock to approve.
Second?
I have a second by Councilman Raymaker. Do we have any discussion?
So obviously, this is during winter hours as well, and is the cost, and I haven't read the whole thing, and I apologize. The cost, does that include us heating the pool?
No, so if the swim team opts to heat the pool, they will pay for that cost
Okay.
separately. That's spelled out in the contract.
In general, then, other than for frost protection, we don't heat the pool in the winter.
Correct. The only time it's been used in the winter is if a resident wanted to lease the pool, which we allow pool rentals, and they have the option to heat it if they want to. I don't know if anyone's done it because it gets expensive quickly.
I know from cleaning out my my leaf filter on my pool, just dipping my hand in there, it's like, I don't know if I want to be a swimmer swimming in there in January without heat.
Polar bear
Right.
plunge.
So Woody,
I was just about, yeah.
Are these,
Yeah, we'll have to cool it for that.
are the lifeguards, I mean, you're bringing those lifeguards in during the winter, that we typically don't have them staffed up during the winter. Is this, I mean, kind of all good with Woody?
Yeah, but I say, what are your thoughts on this,
Yeah.
I guess? Not to put you on the spot, but you're here, so.
We have 3 lifeguards other than myself that are all 18 or over that have agreed. Both Susie, Ben, and Jet are all in available, and they would rotate who's working that day.
So you're good with this?
It can be done. The heating might be of an issue.
Okay.
I'm estimating that the bill per month is $1,500 if it's semi-mild, because the last time we turned the heaters on was mid-April to mid-May a year ago, and that was $1,200. And that was April, May, half of April and half of May. If a blanket existed, which is conceivable, it might bring the bill down to about $1,000 a month. But when you fire those puppies up, it's gonna eat up the gas quick, especially if there's nothing to keep the heat in.
I know I've tried that with my pool, so that Sebastian could swim in it at Christmas time. And that's an all-day endeavor to get that pool warm enough just to go in it.
Well, it takes plus or minus 48 hours to raise a degree, and if you noticed this past 2 days, it didn't take long to drop it. We were at 87 on Saturday, and we're at about 77 today.
Wow.
What's the optimum swim temperature for?
For hypothermia, you have to be above 68. For anything that needs to be competitive, if you're an Olympic, they're one at about 70. If you go over than that, they're going to keep it about 78.
I just want to make sure that, Mr. Witt's aware of what it would take to get that pool heated up.
Yes, sir, I've been,
All right.
I've been coaching for 20 years,
Okay.
indoors and outdoors.
Okay.
Is the school district aware of the potential?
I let them know, yes.
Okay. Okay.
With the sports director, I let them know that if they did choose to heat it, it would quickly get into the thousands of dollars.
Sounded like they're gonna have to heat it after a certain point.
I know there are a lot of us up here that are involved in the Sharks. Both my boys swim on the Sharks, so I recognized you when you walked in as being the head coach. Are you still the head coach for the Sharks, or was that before you took this job in Willis? We didn't have a season this last spring, so I,
To be honest with you, I was actually brought to tears when I was informed that, because the Sharks actually are one of the most near and dear things to my heart since I've moved out here to Texas. So that really did break my heart. But no, so we are, well, I'm sorry, I forgot the question there.
are you still going to be coaching the Sharks as well?
Oh, yes, sir, I have,
Okay.
I could not in
we're
good
not letting
conscience
him go.
walk away from the Sharks.
Are you kidding me?
I
You
couldn't-
can't go anywhere.
I just
can't
gotta
go
ask the
anywhere.
question.
The families of the individuals that I have coached here over the past 10 years, knowing that I'm also a high school teacher, I tutor a lot of these kids throughout the community over the course of the years as well. So
He was there my daughter's very first year and all the way through.
Well, so as a parent, then I would say that if the local kids have the opportunity to not only learn from the head coach that's been their head coach, but now he also is going to be a high school head coach that's going to give him the ability to develop them even further, that's good for our kids.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
just my 2 cents.
And he brought College Park to
Yeah.
quite a
So
stellar
no
place.
state banners to the last 4 years I was there, the boys team was kind of whipping up on the Woodlands High School. So.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit, yes. We were always topping the Woodlands High School out at the state championship. So that was one of my pride and joys at College Park, building that program up.
Awesome. Any more questions for Mr. Witt?
Looking forward to having you out there all winter long.
It's going to be a challenge. I'll have to put on a few layers of clothes, I'm sure myself.
Polar bear every day.
Yes, sir. It's all good. These, I mean, just a brief statement. The program at Willis has not been the best, and I didn't even know when I took the job at Willis High School that they were looking for a swim coach. It just happened to kind of fall in my lap, and I've always had a passion for coaching. And the reason I took a break from the high school was because I had a couple of kids myself. I now have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I felt it was more important to be a father at that point and help my wife raise our kids. And but this opportunity really just kind of fell in my lap, and they needed somebody that knew how to put a program together and hopefully find some resources to help establish this program, since they recently went 6A to compete with some of the other schools in the area.
Outstanding.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
The last thing I'll say is, Woody, we're just going to lean on you to let us know. I mean, I'm personally, not that I'll be voting, but I'm personally excited for the opportunity. However, I would not want it to conflict with any residents' needs. So we're going to lean on you to keep us informed if something comes up where it's becoming a problem for residents. Obviously, we got to put the residents first. But other than that,
Hey, if you heated the pool, maybe somebody else wants to use it.
if they want to help pay that bill, you know. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. We've had some discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Coach.
I appreciate you coming out to see us.
Item 22, discussion and possible action regarding backboards on the tennis courts.
Yes, Mayor and Council, Councilman Christie brought this up at the last council meeting, and so staff went and did some field work and learned
Is this
more about.
presentation only?
It's presentation only, yes.
Okay, thank you.
It says discussion and possible action on the agenda.
Yeah, it does.
Now, you can choose not to take any action.
But the
recommendation,
recommendation, or recommended action is just presentation only.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, on the actual agenda form, it's presentation only.
'Cause I was getting confused there. Okay.
So staff did some research on tennis backboards, found there's a variety of different materials out there, from wood to fiberglass to concrete to plastic. After looking at some local tennis courts, some which had fiberglass, a lot of the Woodlands tennis courts use a fiberglass backboard. There's a court in my neighborhood that uses wood. I don't recommend wood. Basically what staff came down to is what seemed to last the longest, have the best look, keep a lower impact sound, was actually dense plastic backboards. And there was a particular brand, Rally Master, they have a 20-year warranty, and it's highly reviewed, highly ranked by people who buy and use it. Basically, they sell the product. This goes for not only the plastic, but also for fiberglass. Most of these are sold in 4-foot panels in either 10 or 8-foot heights. The fence that we have at our park is 10 feet high. So the recommendation would be to get the 10-foot height panels. Each panel costs about $1,100.
How much?
$1,100. And that's about, for plastic or fiberglass, it's about the same price. There's a few images here showing the measurements and some pictures of our existing fence line at our tennis courts. Of course, we have the 2 tennis courts, and the back of those fence lines are, I believe, 43 feet. Yes, 43 feet wide. There's 2 sections that are kind of separated by an angled fence. So that shows Chris, if you want to go to the next one, I went ahead and overlaid some examples just so you can kind of see what it would potentially look like. So on this image here, you see a 28-foot section of backboard, and that's kind of an ideal for a single user. It gives a lot of room for error. If you see anything much smaller than that, unless you're a really good tennis player, it's kind of hard to hit. At least at my skill level, it's pretty hard to hit. So one option could be to get a solid piece that's 28 feet. And Chris, if you go to the next, another option is to actually separate it. That 16 foot is the minimum width you want for a single user. But if you went to that minimum width, you could have 2 panels. And now this is only looking at one fence line. You could put it on both fence lines or a different combination, whatever council felt that they'd want to do. Now, as far as placement, staff would recommend putting it on the northmost fence as shown here, just because that's going to minimize the amount of area that's obscured by those backboards. That's really my whole presentation. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
And I can say that I'm going to have some unpleasant happy hours when the thumping starts on everybody who's like within 3 or 4 houses of that backboard, that I'll have some unhappy neighbors. I kind of like the idea maybe of one of them at a 16 foot. I mean, the narrower, I know for your skill level, but the idea is to be targeting where you're shooting. So, and it also would not obscure as much. I'm kind of a little bit afraid about what activity could be veiled by having a really wide one. And kind of, I don't ever notice the pickleball players, but if you got somebody hitting on a backboard on one, you're starting to limit people's options then to use the alternate courts. I think that's about it, other than I know my neighbors will give me grief about it.
I'm curious what Chief, what's your opinion of?
You really want my opinion?
That's, yes.
I'm playing a little tennis myself. I personally would prefer the longer board itself and not the.
Wait, we're talking about security and not your skills.
Yeah. Well, as far as security, being back there on the north side, I don't see an issue with it. I do see some complaints coming from some residents as far as sound, but.
I think the only thing that I noticed was it doesn't look like we have any lighting back there behind it. It'd be nice if we were going to put a board like that, we could at least put some lighting behind the board just so we could, it's not, completely dark and concealed back there.
There is security lighting throughout the park. Yeah, I don't recall if there is a light directly.
Well, there's a pole on that
Behind
corner,
there.
it looks like, but it
Right.
doesn't have a light. So maybe there'd be a way to make that multi-directional and,
Directly behind it, of course, would be an issue for, it's being dark right
yeah.
there, but.
It'd be nice if there's some way we could put, if we're gonna do this, it'd be nice if there's some way we could put some light directly behind it so that,
Joseph, was there any kind of an acrylic or see-through option that you guys
that's not a bad idea.
explored? Because I actually played tennis in high school, and the ones that we had at our school, and I think it was because it was a school, right? But they were clear. They had a line on them, and I mean, I don't know that they were louder or quieter or whatever, but
I did see some of those, and the chief complaint was they were loud.
okay.
They also had a net option, but the bounce back, people complained about the bounce back not being what you needed.
Okay.
Do they have any figures then on the decibels generated when it hits and bounces?
I'm sure somebody does, but not that I read.
So since this is only on a half court, is there a reason why it couldn't go on the west fence line rather than the north? So the north fence line
Right.
butts up against all of our neighbors, but the west fence line butts up against
Open
open
field.
field.
Right.
I don't know if it'd be any less quiet or not, but
You could, and I don't know if placing it where it is, I don't know if somebody could practice and somebody could still use the court, probably not. On the west side, you'd use up that court. Somebody wouldn't be able to use the court if someone's using the backboard, because they'll be on the ground.
I would
But
have.
what would they use the court for?
If somebody's using the backboard.
If somebody's using the
There's a
backboard, I don't think you
possibility.
could use it for
Trying to play
anything.
tennis.
Hey, if you had
What's
pickleball
that?
on one half on the opposite side of the backboard court, that might work.
Right, and that's an option. You can move it to
The
the
pickleball.
east side,
Yeah.
and that way if somebody is using it and somebody wanted to play
Well, I can-
pickleball, you could still do that.
I can tell you that a backboard is no louder than a basketball going up and down
Right.
a basketball court. I mean,
So I don't think there's any divider between the two tennis courts. So if you moved it to the west fence, which I like your idea, Ted, the only problem there would be is if the ball got away from them, it could go into the court on the east side and interrupt somebody's game, but that's not the end of the world. I mean, who cares?
Right.
Yeah, that happens when.
Recreation.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you have, if you
a
have
little
two
help.
courts going at the same time, it happens anyway.
I mean, to me, that's better than blocking,
And that way it doesn't block anything.
block a residence fence where somebody could be scaling over, in the middle of the
Right.
dark.
And I'm not trying to convince you guys what to do, you just know what I can't do.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Ron, believe it or not.
How many requests have we fielded for these? How many requests from residents have we fielded for these practice backboards?
I mean, I've talked to several people just because we play, and, there's been people who've asked, why don't they have backboards so that the kids can practice and stuff like that.
I'd be curious to
That's
see
where it
if there's one that's like semi-opaque or something.
Well, like I said, I know at the high school I played at, they were clear, like I said, I didn't know if they were louder, quieter, or whatever, but I think it was for security purposes at my high school, so,
I'm
so they
sure
could
with
see through 'em.
the coronavirus, the cost of plexiglass has become like liquid gold.
Oh my gosh, yeah, are you kidding me?
True.
Would this distract from people playing tennis? I'm not a tennis player, I'm asking.
No, I mean,
these questions.
typically, if there are backboards, if there's no one on the court and you're a single, right? You can go out there and you can work on, on your forehand, your backhand, you can shoot, I mean, it's basically the same idea as, folding your ping pong table in half and using that thing as a backboard.
Yeah, I can go on the court and I can have my hopper of balls and I can
Yeah,
practice
and
my
just practice.
serves,
Yeah.
shooting them all into the corner.
Right. It just makes the tennis courts more functional. I mean, when it's all said and done, gives you that option.
It's kind of like what we did a while back when we added the pickleball court.
Yeah.
Right.
Can you find out about something that's opaque?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or,
I can't,
Practice.
yeah,
or clear, yeah.
Let's say opaque would be
Yeah,
the opposite.
Yeah, opaque.
Translucent away.
Translucent, there it is, all right.
We got,
I
we
can
knew
do
what you
that.
meant though.
Please don't order the minutes.
Okay, so I'm assuming we don't have a motion. Then we'll just move on to item 23 if we don't. So item 23
Thanks, Joseph.
is discussion and possible action to approve a proposal from Blyle Engineering for drainage improvements east of David Memorial Drive.
Council, if you recall earlier in the year, council authorized the purchase of a strip of land on the east side owned by Mr. Denton. That purchase is about to close. This is a proposal from Blyle Engineering to conduct the engineering work for $66,460. If you read in your agenda report, the MDD already has funding for the option 1B East Side Pond project, and the hope is that this drainage project on Mr. Denton's property will possibly reduce the scope or eliminate the need for the 1B project. As you'll see, the total cost in the proposal for construction and engineering is $381,500. The majority of those funds will come from Tim Crawford's payment to buy into the detention pond. Those funds are in the MDD fund. So if you have questions, Mr. Blyle is here to provide more detail.
Motion to approve.
Second?
I have a motion by Councilman Broad. I have a second by Councilman Raymaker. Do we have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 24, discussion and possible action regarding approval for fees with the Montgomery County Fire Marshal.
Approve, make a motion to approve.
I have a motion by Councilman McLeod.
Second.
I have a second by Councilman Fletcher. Do we have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 25, discussion and possible action to approve the minutes of the July 31st, 2020 special meeting and the August 12th, 2020 regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
Motion to, they're approved as read.
I have a
Second.
motion by Councilman Brought. I have a second by Councilman Raymaker. Do we have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 26, discussion and possible action to ratify the accounts payable for August 2020. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion by Councilman Christie.
Second.
I have a second by Councilman McLeod. Do we have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 27, non-action items. Following budget items were authorized by the city administrator per council approval.
Council, the first item is a budgeted purchase order over $15,000, and that is for city road striping for $23,227.30. Secondly, city administrator authorizations within my limit but not budgeted were the payment to the recruiter for the project manager position, that is Ruwal, who's been with us for a few months now, and also the SSR meter and antenna upgrades for $10,750. And that's all I have.
Anybody got any questions for the city administrator on those items? Okay. Then we will move to item 28, which is our second citizens forum, and we did not have anybody sign up to speak, and there's nobody here to speak. So we will move on to item 29, which is the city administrator updates.
Council, I have just one quick one, and this is our Halloween event. We have firmed up our schedule and our route, and we've estimated kind of the timing of where we'll arrive, excuse me, throughout the city. So we will be putting that route map and the information out probably tomorrow.
You'll be putting that out publicly?
Yes.
Can you put that out to council first? Let us
Sure,
kind of get a first look
absolutely.
at it so we don't get blindsided, and then we can put it out publicly?
Sure.
Thanks.
We're going to
Appreciate
back
that.
it up by an hour because we think it's going to take us a little bit longer to cover the city.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Will that be posted at the entrances and all that as well? Or just on the website?
I would think we could put our signs up,
Signs,
Joseph.
yeah.
But we're gonna, obviously not going to put the map up on the sign, but we could put something along the lines of Halloween parade, see
Schedule,
website for
yeah.
details, yeah.
Right. We can get a sticker and
Yeah.
cover it or just buy new signs. I'll take a look and see what's going to work to get that signage.
I think we need to make it as well-known as possible, because it's
Yeah, the
going
quicker
to be out of the norm.
Yeah, the quicker we can put it out, the better, for sure, because we'll need some lead time on that if we want it to be.
Think about when you're passing those, each sign, maybe let people know, that could be a spot.
Anything else, Kathy?
I missed that.
I'll talk to you later.
No, that's all I have.
Okay, item 30, council inquiry.
Oh,
and-
I just wanted from the last one, I just wanted to thank Chief for the problem-solving efforts. So I like what you guys have been doing so far, so appreciate that. Now, go ahead.
No, we'll start with you then. Go
That
ahead.
was my that was my council statement then, all right.
Okay, then, Councilman Grisky?
Thanks for all the work on these, special events. I know we've been presented with all kinds of, timing issues, and you guys have done a fantastic job. I think the idea of the parade is probably that's just a great idea, and we certainly want to move forward, and hopefully have a, lighting of the angels that'll be normal, we're hoping, and, but thank you guys for all the work that you've put into that. I know that's been a really tough thing to get your head around, and we appreciate all the work on it.
Thank you.
Councilman McLeod?
I'm good.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I'm good.
Circle back to Councilman Fletcher.
I'm
He's
good.
One quick update, myself, John Blisle, Jennifer Steen was also there, Kathy, all met with Commissioner Metz today. And so, Ron, we might still have a solution for the I-45 Research Forest.
Nice.
Intersection. Commissioner, did I say Councilman Metz? I said Commissioner, right? Okay. Commissioner Metz's office, again, verbally committed to funding their 50% of the precincts portion. In other words, there are 3 different precincts that have jurisdiction over that intersection. We are trying to be fair about asking each precinct to pick up a percentage of the project based on their percentage of ownership of the intersection. Commissioner Metz was the first person we met with, and he agreed to roughly $500,000, but their portion of that percentage. So I thought that was a great first step. Appreciate all the work that Blisle Engineering has done to help get us there. We have a few more meetings to go, but we'll see if we can't get some more funding. We also talked about the David Memorial Extension Project, which I wasn't there for because I had to leave, go pick up my kids from school, but sounded like he was in favor, not only in favor of the money they've already committed to the project, but in favor of trying to see if they could find some other monies. He didn't commit, at least while I was there, any additional money, but he wants the project.
Other projects in motion right now, and he's hoping to have savings in those projects that he'll commit later before.
Right.
We'll know more in about 6 months.
Yeah, and then obviously there was also, which we've talked about before, the Tamina Road widening. So he sees all of those projects as sort of, as well as a flyover from I-45 to eastbound to onto 242. He sees all of those projects kind of working in concert and would like to see all of those get done and sort of in a similar time frame. So I thought that was a great meeting. Thank you for putting that together and helping us with it. And
thanks for the update.
Yeah.
We were able to pick up $500,000 of support, so not bad. Yeah, not bad. So other than that, I don't have anything else other than kind of like what everybody else here has said. Thank you for staff for working diligently towards keeping our community events on the table. We preach that that's what makes us different, that we try to stay involved with our residents and we try to do things to keep our residents involved with each other And obviously, you know, there were situations out of our control, but when we can do everything in our power to try to help still provide that environment for our residents, I think that means we're doing our job. And that really came down to staff being creative and coming up with some solutions, and so thank you for doing that. Greatly appreciate it. I know that was a big task to ask. So anyway, thank you for that. Anybody got anything else? Okay, well, so if nobody's got anything else, we will adjourn the meeting at 8:49. Thanks for coming, everybody.